Hi, it's Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Today we're going to make a wedding card using the Shapeabilities, well, I guess it's Spellbinders Shapeabilities Grand Cabinet, I'm pretty sure is the name of it. It's a 3D die, and it requires a lot of putting it together, and I hope you'll stay tuned. Well, first I forgot to mention this, that we're also going to make some Foamiran flowers for inside our card. And the card starts out with this, and it ends up with many layers. So I cut out all the layers, and I'll go through that once we get there, but I thought we'd make our flowers first, because that's kind of the important part of my plan. So what I did was, I by hand on Foamiran. If you're not familiar with Foamiran, it's a very thin foam. It's not at all like Fun Foam, because Fun Foam is very thick. This is a very thin foam. And what I did was I started out by cutting out one shape of a petal, no, teardrop, excuse me, and then I just cut out a bunch more by using that as my pattern. And if you have a rough edge like on this one, I don't know if you can see right here, my edge isn't perfect. Well, if it's not perfect on that one, it's probably not perfect on the rest. So I'm just going to kind of clean up my edges. And it is kind of important that it doesn't have any sharp points to it, because you want it to look as clean as you possibly can. So you need 5 for one flower, and then you're going to need something to color it with. And what I'm coloring mine with are distress inks, just your basic inks. And this is what my first one came out like. Now it's a little bit bigger than what I want it to be, so I cut out some small petals, and I figured if I had 3 different sizes that I'd be doing pretty good. So that's the plan right now, is going with 3 sizes of teardrops. Like I said, I cut them all by hand, so none of them are perfect. Then what you're going to need, obviously you're going to need your colors, and I'm going to be using squeezed lemonade and maybe mustard seed. It might be too bright. And I'm going to use one of these little brushes that came in my set from AliExpress. I'm not crazy about these because the neck is really wobbly on them, but I am absolutely crazy about the ones that are like a bronze color. I don't have one right here, sorry. I'll show you one if I can find it later. And I do really like those because the neck is very sturdy, and it makes it so you can color better and ink things up better. Then I have hot glue to burn myself with, and something else I intend to really hurt myself with, and that is one of these hair straighteners. I saw somebody do this, and I'm so sorry, whoever you are that has a YouTube channel making Foamiran flowers, that they use a hair flattener or whatever you call this. I think you call it a flattener. Mine is seriously dangerous. It doesn't have any kind of heat shield, so when you get too far into it, you can burn yourself to death. I'm just saying, you can't keep it hot for very long. So the first thing I want to do, I think, is color them. So I think I'm going to unplug this bad boy for right now, because, as I said, it gets really hot, and then I worry I'm going to kill myself with it. I'm going to get a little bit of squeezed lemonade on my brush. And when you're coloring this, remember that the thing that you're coloring is the bottom tip of your teardrop. Forgot the name, teardrop. And I'm just going to go lightly at first, and then I might get more brighter colors. I might do more color, might do different color. I might do a lot of things. I just haven't decided, because this is, let me tell you, this is going to end up being a Plumeria, and I learned from my friend Barb how to do this, and then from learning from her, it's just kind of a matter of playing with supplies and figuring out what works for you and what doesn't. I'm trying to do this quickly so that, I mean, I don't want to ruin my flower, but I don't think that you can ruin this. And because I'm using distress inks, I can liquefy this and make it so that you know, I can lighten it back up or change it if I need to. And like I said, if I decide I don't like that swipe, then at some point I can always lighten it with water. Okay, so Then we're going to play with this. This is still hot. What you're going to do, you can use an iron, you can use whatever tool you want that's going to heat this up. I did try using my embossing heat gun, and the problem I had with that was that it I had trouble controlling it. It's not that it didn't work, it worked, but you kind of get your petals fly all over the place, and you don't have a lot of controls. What I'm trying to say, I guess. Okay, then the other thing you're going to need, this is a sponge that you use when you're painting and cleaning off your walls. You got it at a hardware store. This is part of one. It's 1/4 of one that Barb gave me. So I'm going to use that, and then you'll need some styluses. You can buy these anywhere online. You just type in ball stylus, S-T-Y-L-U-S. I'll put a link below to wherever I can find them. And if you want to, you don't really have to use heat on these if you are doing something as simple as this flower, because you can do a lot of things just with that ball stylus. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get this to bend, and all I'm trying to do is bend my petal back like that. See how I did that? And I'm just kind of pulling it down and trying to make sure that when I do this I don't leave any lines. Didn't get that as far down. There we go. Now, I'm going to next play with the ones that are still warm that I just did. And I'm going to take the stylus and I'm going to rub in the center of the upper part. That's going to make it have more of a crinkle to it. Okay, next thing we're going to do, now that our leaves are, I crushed all of them so that they're all, in a, what do you call that? I don't know, crinkled. We'll just call them crinkled. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to put a little hot glue. And this is the deadly part, you know what I'm saying. I'm sure you've seen me do this before. And for those of you who are going to say, why don't you have one of those finger things, they're fingertips? I have them. I don't know what I did with them. And even when I use them, I forget to use them on the right finger, so I always end up having a problem with those. So it's, let's just plan on me burning myself one way or the other. That'll be our plan for the day. Okay, I'm just going to put a little glue near the bottom, like that. Okay? Then we're just going to put this petal on that part. And then I'm going to use this little, this is a skewer. I'm just going to use the little skewer so that only the points are basically covering each other. And you want to make sure they're really well adhered, and you can get rid of a little of this extra glue if you want to. The other thing you have to make sure of is that when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're letting the glue dry enough between laying blossoms on it that you don't end up having everything too hot so that it kind of comes unglued. You see that little bit of glue right there? I just put that piece right there. I'm going to get my skewer again. Again, I only want that tip to be well adhered. Okay, now, here's what you do. You're going to get your sponge back and your stylus, and we're going to push down into the center of our flower. All the way in the center. Push it to the bottom. Like that. And then that makes it so that it's basically turned the other way. And then if you want to add more dimension to your leaves, then you can flip them over, and working closer to the center, you're going to push down in there. And that'll give you dimension on your individual leaves. Roll under. This is what makes it look more realistic, is when you have it having all this dimension and shaping. I'm going to take my skewer and I'm going to wrap this leaf around it, like that. Turn on my heat tool. And I'm just going to put this right in front of it like that so that it gets warm enough that we can get it to basically roll up. Like that. Do the next one. You just want to heat it enough that it feels the need to bend a little. So now we've got the ends curled under, and I just want to get a little bit more movement in the other parts of my flower. So I'm going to push down that center part again. Now don't forget, we also are going to need to make sure this fits on our card. So the more the more we get as far as motion in this, the smaller it's going to turn out. This is the kind of brush I really recommend you getting. Really stable handle, much easier to use. I like it a lot better than the others. Okay, first off, let me tell you what you need to do. When you get this die, you have to buy this part of it separately. This is the happily ever after that comes with the bride and groom. I haven't decided if I'm using that yet because of all the flowers, but you have to cut out, okay, this is my front. I cut it out of foil paper that was kind of inexpensive, and it took me forever to punch out all of those little holes, even though I tried every shim method possible, and it didn't work. So my advice to you is don't use glitter paper. It's too tricky to work with. I'm also going to need to add a second layer. What is that stuck to? That's glue. I'm also going to have to add a second layer to it because it's so flimsy that it will never hold up. So I'm going to glue it to a white background. Then you have to have a back, and the back and the front are the only two that you're going to cut off these side pieces. The flap, I don't know what you call them. Whatever. You're with me, right? We're going to cut those off because we're not going to use those on just the front and the back. So this is my back. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a glitter, and these are my sides, also glitter, not glitter, foil. And then my front, as I said, is going to be this. I'm looking for another one. And the piece underneath it is white. So what I decided to do is to take my Gelato that's in silver and go over this, just hopefully making it so that if you do see, if there's a little part that you can see behind, that it won't be all bummed out that you can see white. It will look like silver. With me? So we're just going to quickly go over that, and then I'll use my finger to rub it around. Now, because I just did this, it's going to make it a little bit trickier for me to glue this to the front because the Gelato is greasy and it makes it not want to play. So there's my second probably big mistake with this card. I want to make as many as possible so that you guys don't make them. Okay, that's close enough. Don't forget, we don't want these little deals on. I'm going to leave those on now for now though, because I want to make sure that they're in place. In the right place. In the right place, whatever. And I'm going to use wet glue for this because I'm thinking wet glue might be the best way to go. And I'm on a craft mat, so I can, it's like a heat resistant mat that, an oven mat maybe, I guess is what you call it, that I just use for projects like this. I've cut it, I've made all kinds of problems on this mat, and so it's not really in good shape anymore. So whenever I'm making a project where I'm going to really make a big mess, I go with that. Okay, and I'm just using AdTech Craft Fine Line Glue. And I'm lining this up. The reason I didn't cut those tabs off is I thought I would line those tabs up with the silver paper, and then it would make it, you know, so that I know exactly that I'm lined up. Does that make sense? I think it does. For once. Okay. You have to push down on all these little individual curly cues, we'll call them. I'm going to set that aside after I snip these little bad boys off. Remember, the front and the back, you don't need these. Before, well, our next step, what we're going to do next is we're going to start attaching our layers. There. That's our front. Hopefully it's going to stay glued together. That's my plan anyway. I'm going to put a couple of weighted things on it so that it stays together if possible. This is our back. I'm sorry that this is a glare. I'm flipping this over because this, okay, wait, I gotta make sure I'm doing this right. I want this to be what you see. Okay, so I have my sides. These are my sides, and this is my back. So what I'm gonna do, I put tear tape on both sides of this panel. The way you want to attach this is you want to make sure, okay, I hope you can see these. Do you see these little holes right here? The ones that are lower to the bottom, that goes toward the bottom of your card. And all you're going to do, oh, maybe I didn't trim that part. No, I guess I did. Talking to myself now. All you want to do is you want to line this up. Oh, that glare is terrible. I want to make sure that the very bottom of my card is even. I'm going to bend this up like this, so you see how the sides are now, so that the lower end is where those go. Okay, hopefully you followed that. Then we're going to start sticking these in, and you need to have 4 layers of these. And I'm terrible at inserting things, little pieces into their slots. So hopefully, okay, I pushed them in. Oh, it's hard to believe. And then you want to pull them down. You push it in, pull it down. I'll show you again. This is my second row. You push them all the way in so that your little I don't know what you call those things, flaps we'll call them, are in, and then you pull it toward the bottom of the card so that it locks them in place, like that. Put this one in place. Our goal here is to get a really, really dimensional card that's also sturdy, and so that's why when you're doing this and you pull them down, it makes them super sturdy. Okay, so now at this point in the game, I still need one more because I know. Okay, let me make another one of these and I'll be right back. So what I recommend you doing when you use one of these dies is that underneath your die and your paper you put a page protector. It helps so much in taking out all these little pieces that are, you know, that they basically fall out onto the page protector and you don't have a problem with it. Anyway, so I've got my last piece to go, ready to stick in place. You just have to slide in those little slots, if you can get them in those little slots. I don't know, I always have trouble getting these in. When you know at the very last one. The other one's no problem, get right in there. But this one, no, it's not going to play along, because why would it? Okay, quit whining, Sandy, you got it. Okay, there's that one. Remember, these have to be near the bottom. And I want to attach it right to the very, I'm going to line that up on the very bottom edge and make sure that the top edge is also lined up on that same line so it's straight. And then what we want to do is bend that piece up on the score. and slowly but surely try to get these pieces in there. Okay, so our last piece, I'm going to fold under or fold down like that. Are you with me? Then we're going to put a piece of tear tape on the back, I think, of this, because it'll be easier to get this to stay down. So now what we need to do is attach our front. So I think what I want to do, I mean, obviously I have my decoration to do, but I think what I want to do is attach my front like that, and then we'll put everything, all of our decorations in. And nobody's going to see the back of this piece because this is what goes along the front of the card, right? So you're just going to put tear tape on the front on either side. And then, of course, it's all about what are we going to do with our Plumeria and how are we going to make this look really, really pretty. Okay, I've got this side on. Then the easiest way should be to just lay it flat and then put my front across like that, and voila, we've got ourselves at least the three-dimensional part of our card. Now what I thought I would do is lay flowers inside, like glue them in somewhere in there. So let's go with maybe our biggest one. I don't know. The other thing I was thinking about doing is, and I still might do that, is put this inside there. I think I will, because I don't like that the mirror in the back. I thought I would like that, but it's so glary that I think this will make it look better. Yeah, that looks way better. Anyway, it looks better. I thought I would dig the bride and groom, and I thought I would like the happily ever after, and I thought, I mean, there were so many pieces of this I thought I would like, but as I've started playing with it, I'm just not sure what I am looking for as far as my end game. I know I want the Plumeria in there because that's what she wants for her wedding. So my first, order of business. Oh, and I really, really wanted to stick some stamen in there. I have stamen, and I think they would make it look so much more elegant. But I don't think Plumeria have stamen, so, that cuts that out of the job. Anyway, so let's kind of think about placement of these bad boys, and then we'll be ready to rumble. Here's what I think I'm going to do. I got a new plan. I think I'm going to glue this one and this one like in the front, kind of like that, a little bit. Then I think I'm going to glue this one in the back somewhere, and then I think I'm just going to put happily ever after in silver foil maybe. Okay, I put the happily ever after in there. That's what it looks like from the front. I couldn't glue anything in on camera because it was just too complicated trying to, get the pieces and parts stuck in there with my hands, because all you see is basically my hands. Then I glued another piece of the glitter paper to the back to cover up the flaps of the mirror paper. And I think it came out pretty well considering all the issues I had with it. I think they'll like it. I hope they will anyway. It's pretty and it's unusual, and I don't think they'll get another wedding card like it. I hope that you enjoyed this, that you'll give this one a try. If you have this die and you haven't figured out how to use it yet, maybe I've helped you with that. Give this a thumbs up and subscribe, and please tell your friends about me on social media because I love that. And thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.